Welcome to Code Jogging. In this video, I'm going to show you how to import an image and then also preview or display an image in your app using Compose UI. In our previous videos, we looked at the use of layout groups and then text components in Compose UI. And I believe you've watched those videos, and if you've not, please kindly go back and then watch those videos for you to get an overview of what we are learning or what we've done so far. For you to understand the use of the image view, you have to also know how to use the modifiers too, which we've done it in the previous video. Alright, so let's get started. For us to import an image into our project, we have to go ahead and copy the image from the download folder or where we've saved our image on our machine. We have to copy it and then paste it into our project so that we can call it anytime we want in our project using the image view or the image component. Okay, so I have downloaded two images. We have these two images here. So we are going to use the first one. We copy, and if you're on Windows, you can use the Ctrl+C to copy. Then you go to the resources folder, that's the RES, and you go to the drawable. Then you right click, then you paste. Once you paste it, at times this dialog will pop up. Since we want our image to be shown on all screens or all screen sizes, then we will select the first one, then we click on OK. The next step is Android Studio asks us whether we want to rename the file or we still want to maintain the file name. Here we want to maintain the file name, so we click on OK. Now we've imported the selected image into our project. So now you can see it here. You can double click on it to view it. So now let's close it. Now let's import another image from the resources folder. So we apply the same procedures. We copy, then we go to the drawable, we right click, then we paste. Select the first one, and here we want to rename the file. Okay, in Android mobile app development, we have some name constraints. So for us to prevent ourselves from getting those errors, let's rename it to error.png. And you can also check online to find out the file extensions or the image extensions that Android app development supports. Okay, so now we've successfully imported two images into our project. The first one is the error.png, and then the second one is the hadid.jpg. So now we are going to look at how to import the images we have here into our project. So we are going to call the hadid.jpg in our app. So for us to achieve that, we have to first call the image component, that image, and then we select. We have three types of image components in Compose UI here, or four types. So we select the one we want, that's the painter, and then we call this. So these are the two properties that we need to fill. We have a lot of properties, like how we did when we were working on the text component. So here it needs a description. It must be a unique, okay, or you can just type anything. It must be a string. So we can leave it blank, or we can type a name or a word here. And then here, this is where we will specify the path of the image. Since we have it in our project and it's inside the drawable, we call the resources folder. The first one you have to import it dot, then the kind of folder we want to access here, or the file. Then we need drawable, so we type D and then we pick it from the IntelliSense. Then next one is dot, then you will see that we have our two images here among the IC underscore launcher background and then the foreground. In this video we are not interested in the background and then the foreground, so we are going to stick to the error and then the headed. So we select the headed. Okay, so now let's run our code and then see the output if we've successfully imported the image in our app. So let's run our code and then let's check the output. Yes, now we successfully imported the image in our app, and that's what we are showing here. The same thing applies to if we want to use the error PNG here. You can change the name to, and here you notice that we didn't add a file extension to it, whether it's a PNG, JPEG, or JPG, or any image file extension. Okay, here, because here it accepts an integer, and anytime you import an image into the drawable or into any of the folders here, the Android Studio recognizes those files by using a unique ID assigned to it. So here, though we've called the file name, but at the background we are calling the ID. That's the reason I have ID equals this. So we are now making a reference to this one by calling it ID, and the ID is in the form of an integer. Okay, so this is how we can call an image in our project locally displayed in our app. Okay, so as far as you have, let's say you can have an icon, or you can download an icon from the internet and then you want to use it in your project. You just copy it from the download folder, then you paste it into the drawable folder here in your project. Then you call the image, or you can call the icon component. But this video we are focusing on the image component. So when you call the image component, it requests you to fill two parameters. That's the path to the image and then the description. Okay, now we are going to look at how to call an image from let's say a server, or how to fetch an image path online or from the internet. What I'm trying to say is, assuming let's say you are building your app and then you've hosted it on the server or on the cloud, and you want your app to retrieve the image from the specified path you have in your app. Meaning, if the user, if you want to display feeds, meaning you've hosted all your images on your server, and then you want to retrieve it and then show it in the app. Here you can't use the resources dot drawable dot the file name. We can't use that. It means that we are going to specify the URL of the image, and here we can't use the painter resources to do that, because the painter resources accept an integer, meaning that our URL, which is a string, can't be used here, though we can still maintain the content description. So let's look at how we can achieve that. So now we are going to learn how to retrieve or show an image from our server in this project. So I've copied an image link online, which we are going to use for our project, and there are a lot of things that we are going to learn whilst retrieving the image from the server. So now we won't need the painter resources again. Okay, now we are having an error here. So before we can do that, do that, we have to call the painter. Okay, so once we have the painter, then we can have remember sync. Okay, the remember sync is not showing. Yeah, so we have to use the remember async image painter in order to retrieve the image from the server. Okay, so for us to achieve that, then we have to look at the use of the call in mobile app development. Okay, we have a lot of libraries that help us to load images from the internet or from the cloud. One is we have glide, and then we have the call. We have a lot of libraries that you can use to retrieve an image from the server or from the cloud. Okay, so in this video we are going to learn how to use the call compose. Okay, so we have to visit their platform. Okay, so we visit the ct.github.io, then call compose. So we are looking at the use of call in compose or compose UI. We have call for other Android projects, especially if you're using the XML, but this one we are focused on the use of the call in compose UI. So we copy this one, meaning that we are importing the library into our project. Okay, so now let's import into our project. For us to import a library into our project, we have to go to the Gradle script, then we go to the module. So the module is the app, that's the default or the parent project or project default folder for our project. So we open it, then we paste it here. Once we are done, then we have to update our Gradle, meaning that it needs to upload it from the internet or download it from the internet, sorry. Okay, so we are done. We've successfully imported the call compose into our project. So it means that anywhere where we can call a library from or a function from the call compose in our project. Okay, so for us to do that, then we can now remove this and then call it remember sync. Now we are having it here, so this is what we need. Okay, so now this is what we need, and then we can remove this, the model, and then we can call this image. Okay, so double quote and then let's paste it here. Now we are calling this path, it's an image, we are calling from the cloud. Okay, before we run this code, there are a lot of things we need to do. Now we've not told the app to enable or should grant us the permission to access the internet in our app. So if you run this app, it will crash because the image will try to fetch it from the server, which the permission has not been granted yet. So for us to enable the permission to access the internet in our project, we need to go to the manifest here. So the hardware permissions are being called in this manifest here. So here we will call the internet permission. So we call the user's permission. We call the user's permission, yes, and then the name is the internet. Yeah, we double click on this one, then we close it. Yes, we've successfully granted the internet permission to our app. So the next step is to allow the traffic, okay, because if you enable it on the lower devices, it will work. I mean the Android version 9 and below to work, but the Android version 10 upwards, that's where some certain configuration needs to be done. So for us to allow our image works smoothly on Android version 10 and then above, then we need to call then uses clear traffic, yes, then we should turn it to true. Okay, so now we've done configuring, giving our app the internet permissions. Okay, so now let's go back to our code. I think now we are good to go. We can now test our app. Let's test it. Okay, so let's wait for it to build. Okay, so now let's see. Yes, we successfully display the image from the cloud. Okay, so now we are done displaying an image from the cloud and then also from our project locally. Let's ask ourselves this question: what if the user is using slow internet access, or the data we are loading is too huge that it can't be loaded within a few minutes? It means that our app will be blank. And what if the file doesn't exist? In that case, our app will be blank. So what we can do is we can then display a placeholder. Okay, we can then display a placeholder in our app, so that whilst we are waiting for whilst we are waiting for our image to load, we can also display something to the user that, oh, okay, we should wait for a while, the image is loading. Okay, we tried our best, we can't find the image, so let's show you an error message or maybe an error image. Okay, so now that's what we are going to look at it now. So let's proceed. Now we are not going to use this one. We need to cut our code. Okay, let's remove it, and then let's declare a variable here. Let's variable image loader equal, then we paste it here. Okay, then you come and then paste it here. It will still work because we've not changed anything. The only thing we've done is we've moved the value for the painter to the top and we've assigned it to a variable. Then we've called the variable here. Okay, so now what we are going to do is, now you can see that we have a model parameter here. So what we are going to do is we will move to the next line for easy reading code access. So we type model and then equal. Now for us to add the placeholder and also displaying an error message if we are not able to find the image, or maybe whilst we were trying to retrieve the image there was connection lost, then you have to call the image request .build, which receives one parameter, that is the content Okay, so now let's cut our image. Now the next step is to specify the data. What URL are you trying to fetch? This is the URL. Okay, so if the image is loading, what are we going to display? Then we call the placeholder. We can call it from your image, or so if the image is loading, we want to show Hadid. So we call the resources dot drawable dot Hadid. Okay, if there's an error, what image do you want to display? Then drawable dot error. So now first try fetching the image from this URL. Whilst you are fetching it, display the image here or the content you have here. If the image doesn't exist, or if there's a connection lost, it means that there's an error. Then we don't want to leave our app blank. Display this image. So now let's run our code and then let's see what happens. Okay, let me check. We had an error. So what the error is about? Oh yes, we are having an error here. This is some of the errors you will see. Now it's telling us that it seems you forgot to call the build. So now let's build our image loader or the image request. Now let's run our app again. Yes, I hope you realize that we first loaded the Hadid, and when we were able to finish fetch the image from the cloud, then we updated the Hadid to the image that we fetched. Okay, so now let's look at the point where the image doesn't exist. So let's add any variable to the path so that the path become unknown or not found. So let's run it. Now let's wait for it. Yes, because the path doesn't exist, now we are displaying this error or this image to the user that the image doesn't exist. Okay, so now let's revert it back. Okay, so now this is what. Now let's add a modifier to our image. Yes, we can add a modifier to our image, and as we've explained it in our previous videos, we said that modifier allows us to design or customize a component. So here we are going to restrict the size of our image. So let's make the size both left and right. Modifier, let me import it. Yes, the size, let's make it 300 dp. Then let's import the dp. Okay, and then we are going to make it a circle, so it should be a circular. So the clip, we use the clip, then we type the circle shape. Okay, and then we will, okay, let's leave it like this. I think these two properties here are okay. So let's run our code again. Now let's see. Now you can see that our image has now become a circular here. Let's run it again, and now we are good to go. So this is how we can import our an image in our project, whether locally or from the cloud. Alright, in case you have any question, you can leave it at the comment section, and in case you have suggestion how you can run this community or this channel, you can send us a mail, and then we will respond to it as soon as we receive it. Thanks for watching this video. See you in our next video. Bye bye.